everybody. Welcome to City Girls Pod. And this is a show where we like to talk about all things Sex in the City. And we are continuing on our coverage of the CARRIE Diaries. We are in today, season 1, episodes 8 and 9. I'm film critic Rachel Wagner, and Jax is here.
Hi, Rachel. It's Valentine's Day week, and we're in red.
Yeah, that's right. Hope you had a good Super Bowl weekend.
Yeah, I think it was about the same as yours as far as you and I didn't watch the game.
No.
We were watching other TV shows.
Yes, that is correct. I was busy watching watching other stuff, and dropped a Diva, which is such a great show. I love that show so much. And I'm gonna be recapping season 4 with Jasmine this week. Nice. So that had to take priority over the game, because usually the actual football game, the Super Bowl, is super boring. Like it's usually not a good game every once in a while, but not normally.
Yeah, this year it was an actual good story.
Oh yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
that's
good. It was, I mean, I wasn't watching, but I was getting updates from my family group text.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Very good. Well,
and I do like the two brothers were playing each other, and then their mom hugged them both after the game. I did watch that. I was like, oh, okay, I'm feeling the feels. I like the storytelling of it.
Yeah, that I did see that on social media.
Yeah.
So that's cool.
Yeah.
That they were able to make it a fun event for their mom.
And Rachel and I will be
stressful.
Yeah, I know. Rachel, I guess we'll start a sports podcast after this. And
yeah.
Yeah,
because it's not that I necessarily hate sports. I'm not like one of those people. No, I just don't have time for it.
Yeah, I love
it takes a lot of time.
Yeah. Oh, it's a lot of I love being a part of something that's bigger than myself. And I like being in my family's group text about it, but I would just rather feel a part of it, but not actually have to engage with it too much.
Yeah. Right. Agreed. So today we're talking about episodes 8 and 9. So we're getting there. We're getting close. We got a couple episodes left of this season. But what did you? I guess I'll read the summary just a sec. So okay. So the first episode we're talking about is episode 8, Hush Hush. A school lock-in provides a perfect cover for a night out in Manhattan with Larissa and Carrie's interview coworkers, until a surprising encounter turns her night upside down. And this episode, interestingly enough, directed by Amy Heckerling of Clueless fame. So that's interesting.
I thought this one was really fun.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I liked this episode. I thought it was pretty good, pretty well done. I think that part of the problem, I think, with this show a little bit is that they are having to adapt everything from a mature, fairly strong R-rated show into a network show for teenagers. And sometimes it doesn't quite work. I do not believe that nobody in this bar would question Carrie, that she does not look 21.
No.
And so that she's getting drinks. She's I just obviously they wanted to bring in the Cosmopolitan as a Easter egg from the show. I understand that, but it doesn't make sense that nobody would question her.
Well, I'm curious as to what it was like in the 80s, as far as were they really cracking down on underage people being in bars? Because in our time, it's unfathomable that she wouldn't get carded.
Mm-hmm. I did look, and there was I should have had it open, because I did look to see what the laws were, and it was 21 was a thing in 1984. But yeah, as far as how much they were cracking down, I just think that it's unrealistic that nobody would question it. Nobody would be like, what are you doing here?
So young. And I did like the Cosmopolitan though, and I love that we get to see that we have Manolo Blahniks, and it's like the beginnings of how Carrie became the Carrie Bradshaw that we know, love, and sometimes she gets on our nerves.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, but also I think it does spell to why they had some problems with the show. And I think that that also, even just in their audience, like trying to get the audience of Sex and the City to be interested in this teenage show, I think was hard because it's just such a different audience.
I think that's a really good point, that it would be interesting to sort of be in the room when this was getting pitched and being like, okay, cool, but who is our audience and why will they care? And are you hoping to get a whole new audience of young women and men too, if that's who you're going to, but I think it's mostly geared towards women, a whole new audience, or you're hoping to get a lot of the Sex and the City people? But then if so, like, I think you're right. There was some misfiring on who this show was actually for, even though I think it's such a great show in terms of storytelling and acting, but actually knowing how to market it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that it was hard to find its audience because it was just kind of like, who is this exactly made for? Yeah. So this episode, we've got this lock-in. And did you ever have anything like that? Do anything like this in your high school?
Did you?
We did one time. We did. This is so ridiculous. My choir did what we called a rockathon, where we literally brought like rockers, like chairs,
oh my gosh,
rocking chairs, and it was, and we like, you'd think that we would want to like run a race or like do something that's actually an accomplishment,
dance-a-thon,
as a fundraiser. No, we rocked in rocking chairs.
You rocked.
Yeah, I don't think we stayed the whole night, I think, but it was like a late stay or something like that. That's the closest I can think of.
You brought chairs.
Yeah.
And rocked back and forth in them.
Yeah, which is absurd. It's ridiculous. Why would somebody want to fight? Like, why didn't we just collect donations, like, instead of doing that? But we did. That's what we did.
I mean, it's actually an amazing, weird story to tell years later. It's not a dance-a-thon. It's not a readathon. I love a readathon. But no, you guys were rocking. You guys were, and not singing or dancing to rock music. No. You're in a rocking chair.
Yeah.
Wow.
Ridiculous. I mean, I guess the other thing I think of is we had like after prom parties.
Oh yeah.
And things like that. And because the whole idea is that you don't want people going out and drinking and stuff like that after prom, so they would have the after prom party, to try to have some fun for the teens.
I never went to any of those because all of our after prom parties were out the bush, was like in the woods drinking. And actually my sister and I both got left at the prom by our dates who went out the bush drinking, and our dad had to pick us up.
Oh, so, really?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Cause I was like president of Students Against Drunk Driving. And like, I was very, so like, I wouldn't have gone, but I definitely didn't get invited either.
Yeah. I actually never went to prom. I mean, I say that I just know that was an event because I did go to homecoming and winter formal, but I got appendicitis and missed my prom because I was junior prom because I was having my appendix taken out.
Did yours burst, or did you get
no? It was before it burst, but it was looking pretty close. I started having, in my junior year of high school, I started having these incredible stomach pains. I could barely walk, and so I actually basically dropped out of high school that year. I got a tutor and everything, and they could not figure out, because it's hard to diagnose appendicitis. So they could not figure it out, and they thought, they kept saying like, oh, you're just cramping, like menstrual cramping, and I'm like, no, that's not it.
I don't think so.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm 17, I'm not an idiot. And so they did laparoscopic surgery, which is such an incredible miracle, laparoscopic surgery. I mean, things that would have caused way more recovery and make it way harder in the past. What they basically do is they put two tiny little slits in wherever they're going, and then they have a camera, and then they have a laser. Not that everybody wants to know about my medical things,
I am curious.
but they put like a little laser, and they go in, and they put air in your abdomen or wherever it is that they're doing laparoscopic. They put air in, and then they're able to go in and do whatever they need to do. And I went into the surgery. I didn't know what they were going to find, what they were going to do. It was like explorative surgery is what they called it. And I woke up after, and I was like, what did you do to me?
What happened?
Yeah, what did you do? And he was like, the doctor's like, your appendix looked green. That's what he said.
Oh my gosh, Rachel.
Yeah.
I love the way you're walking around in an insane amount of pain. They're like, I think it's cramps. I think it's cramps.
Yeah. I was like, no, it's not. But it was a good lesson for me, because I learned at an early age that you have to be your own advocate of your health.
Yes.
You have to you can't just sort of accept what the doctors are saying. You have to, if you're not feeling well, you have to advocate for yourself. So
yeah, absolutely. Oh my goodness. Everyone be careful about appendix stuff. My best friend Russell, his burst when he was 9, and they didn't even know after it burst. He was like an hour away from dying.
Oh my
and
gosh.
he's okay now. He's doing great, performing in Titanic off Broadway for anyone who wants to go see it. Hearing that happen to you, Rachel, just makes me be like, oh my gosh, 2 people I love so much had appendix issues. PSA, everyone.
Ho, ho, ho. We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies Patreon.
Do you love Hallmarkies podcast, especially at Christmas?
Do you enjoy the holiday previews, recaps, interviews, and bonus episodes?
If the answer is yes, please consider supporting the Hallmarkies Patreon. We need your help to do what we do both during the Christmas season and all year round.
But not only do you help a podcast led by strong, independent women by becoming a Patreon, you get to become a part of the Hallmarkies family.
Starting at only $2 a month as a patron, you will have access to our Facebook Patreon group where we talk about the movies, shows, and more all year.
We also have many monthly patron watch-alongs with guests like Lacey Chabert, Natalie Hall, Paul Campbell, Mary Lou Henner, and more, giving their behind-the-scenes details of their films.
As a patron, you also have the chance to provide input into the podcast and even join us at different tiers.
So this Christmas season, spread some cheer to the Hallmarkies Patreon and become a member today. You won't regret it.
Go to patreon.com/Hallmarkies to learn more.
That's patreon.com/Hallmarkies.
So anyway, this lock-in is basically a chance for Carrie to go to this club. They're having this party for the interview people, and she has her first Cosmopolitan at the bar. And she also, there's this guy who comes on to her and pretty creepy.
Yes. Creepy, greasy. No.
Yeah. And I don't know if they were trying to make that be like, if they were trying to make that look cool, or if they knew that it was creepy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like he was just sort of a vehicle to buy our Cosmopolitan. Like, I think, I mean, or maybe there was some sort of intention there, but the fact that we don't see him again, and it was kind of a nothing interaction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just, I just felt like it was sort of emblematic of them trying to wedge Sex and the City into this show. And it just doesn't quite work because you're dealing with teenagers.
You're right. It would have even been fun, at least I think, rather than introducing creepy guy, to just have Larissa, who does think Carrie's 21, introduce her to the Cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
You know, like we didn't need that guy.
Yeah. Yeah. And I I don't drink, so I was just kind of curious. So I looked up the recipe for Cosmopolitan, and it has, according to the internet, it has 1.5 ounces of vodka, 6 ounces, 0.6 ounces of Cointreau, which is like an orange liqueur. It's a triple sec, evidently. And then cranberry juice, and lime, and then you mix it. So there we go.
That's so, to the best of my recollection, I've never had a Cosmopolitan, but I think they sound very strong. Like I've had a martini, but
Well, and I think that would have been actually the way to go, to have her not like it, because from what
Right.
what I understand about alcohol, again, never drinking it in my life, it's kind of an acquired taste. Like you have to kind of build up your taste buds for it, especially
yeah,
something as
yeah.
strong as like hard liqueur.
And
That I
there's a
think
lot of fuck in that Cosmo.
I think that would have been a better, kind of even more funny, more interesting kind of way to go, is to have her take a drink and be like, "Ooh, yuck, don't like
Right,
that."
right. Oh, I'll never like these kind of thing.
Yeah, that would have been
Love
funny
it.
if she had.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna like those. That would have
Yeah,
been
'cause
better.
you're right. There's a like even like something like a mimosa, which is champagne and orange juice, that tastes like really like light and fun. But
Mhm.
yeah, it's something with a lot of hard liquor in it.
Yeah, like if it was like a daiquiri or something like that, which covers, I'm
Right.
told, covers a lot of that alcohol taste, then that would have maybe been one thing. But I don't know, I think that could have been funnier.
Yeah.
But we do have Carrie getting her first Manolo Blahnik shoes in this episode, and that was fun. That was more successful than the Cosmo.
I thought it was a really magical moment too, because we see that I actually thought this was really sort of like moving in a way, because we see that it's not just about the physical thing in the shoes. It's about her excitement of it being tied to being in a world that she's so grateful to be a part of, her hopes, her dreams, and also as a way to forget about guy drama. So we sort of see in Carrie Bradshaw's psyche how her obsession with shoes is being formed. So I thought, and also they were just a really cute pair of shoes.
Mhm. Yeah, and I liked her dress. She was in that, like, she was in a pink over off the shoulder dress with a long sleeve, very sparkly. I love sparkle.
Yes.
I'm a big sucker for it.
Oh, I agree. And I mean, honestly, consistently, the fashion in this show just blows me away. I think
Yeah,
it's
I think they're doing a good job on this show of it's not really all that, I don't think, accurate to the 1980s, but it's very, like, it's very 1980s filtered through 2000 and the 2010s.
that's a great way to describe it. And
Yeah.
fun and light, bright. I'm really
Mhm.
enjoying
Yeah, because you don't have, like, let's say, like the big puffy sleeves or
it.
the big high hair that you had in the 80s, or things like that, that you would see certainly at a lock-in or at a, a formal dance or those kinds of things. You would see those looks.
Mhm.
It's very kind of clean and inspired by 80s, which I think is actually effective. I like it.
Yeah, I agree.
Mhm.
Because it
And
doesn't take over the show that we're like, oh gosh, these 80s fashions. It
mhm.
actually like does, I think, what it's meant to do, which is like highlight it, but not have it be distracting.
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And so we also have the dad going on basically a double date with this friend. I forget his name, the friend's name, but anyway, he goes on this double date.
Yeah, what is that friend's name? I don't know it, but he's obnoxious, but also weirdly lovable.
Yeah. And they have a toast to low expectations, which I think is probably healthy for a date.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And so then the dad ends up going to the same club that Carrie's going to, and I feel like that the dad would do a little bit more homework as far as what Carrie's doing, like, because it's not just that she's not going to the internship, but she's spending all this time in the city. I feel like he would be asking more questions than he does.
Question for you just about logistics. How many days a week is this internship?
Yeah, I wonder about that too. And
I
it seems like she's like missing school too.
Yeah, what I had thought at one point, and then we find out in the next episode because Sebastian's like, oh, it's nice to see you in school. But for a little while, I thought it was only 1 day a week.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm like, it seems like it's more. I haven't figured it
Yeah,
out.
I mean, but then she goes to that whole Halloween party in the city. She's spending all this time in the city, and I don't know. I just feel like he would be asking more questions about his daughter.
Yes.
But nevertheless, they end up at the same club, and
He's dancing.
yeah. Have you ever played that kind of game of trying to get into the clubs and waiting in those lines and other things like that in New York?
So not when I was underage, but for my
Sure.
maybe like 28th birthday. Yeah, I think it was my 28th. My cousins and my sister, we waited in this long line, and the guy that I was dating was working at it wasn't at night, it was during the day for like a big brunch, but it was like a club. And we got like to the front of the line, and we were all wearing like maxi dresses, and everyone was in like leather pants and stuff. And they were just like, no.
That's funny.
We were just like, and we were, keep in mind, we were like 28 at the time, and we all felt like too old for the clientele there. It was very young. It was like 21. So that was the only, like, yeah, no, it was not. We have a photo from that day, and we all just look at it and we're like, we looked nice.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was swing and a miss.
Yeah. That would definitely be me.
Yeah, I should take you, and then we'll like get there.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where like, it's so humiliating, but the fact that it was all of us was also kind of funny, you know?
Well, so Larissa finds out that Carrie is 16 finally, and I would think that she would be more kind of upset and shocked.
What I thought would have been funny is I liked the reaction. She was like, oh, you're fresh face, and I have the youngest intern, because that's like a funny thing. But I wish there was the quick thing that passed before, like, oh my gosh, I tried to give you alcohol. Oh my gosh, whatever. And then like, but this is great. You can still intern for me. Like it could have ended the same place, but her realizing like, oh my gosh, I've been exposing this 16-year-old to very adult situations.
Yeah. I mean, and no wonder that the dad then doesn't want her to do the internship when he meets her and her employer in this bar. I think that if Carrie had just come to him and said, hey, I got this opportunity to do this internship, here's all the things about it, then I can't imagine that he would have had a problem with that. But now he's like, this is some kind of cesspool of that people don't care about my teenage daughter.
Yeah, I can't trust this woman.
Yeah, so the secret's finally out, and I can completely understand why the dad freaks out, because
I did love the
who
visual.
wouldn't?
Was that?
Who wouldn't be upset?
100%. Like if he wasn't upset, he wouldn't be a very good dad.
Yeah.
And I really like her dad's character. I think he's very likable. But when we see that visual of Carrie looking adorable but shell-shocked, and all the images of Carrie are behind her because it's like projected on a screen, that's really funny. It's a really good like sight gag.
Yeah, that was good. And then as it goes, Carrie's dad says, say goodbye to that life. And then she says, you can't stop me from wanting it. And again, if she had just presented it as this opportunity, because that's the thing about like being a freelancer, which is basically what Carrie is. I mean, there's a little bit where she works for Vogue or things like that, but most of the time it seems like she's a freelancer with her writing, is that there's always kind of the next gig that you have to be prepared for. That's like the and you know this too as an actress and other things that you do, is that you just can't get comfortable too long.
Yeah.
It's kind of like an example of, I worked so hard to get the relationship with Hallmark Publishing and to have them sponsor the podcast a couple of times, and I was so excited about that. And then now they're closing down. So you just have to hope that that sort of the relationships that you made in that contact and that experience will then help you to the next experience, and people that I became friends with and working with them, that maybe in their next job that they'll think of us. And but you just constantly kind of have to be continually think about the next opportunity.
Yeah, 100%. And it feels like Carrie has a really entrepreneurial spirit, and she is such a go-getter, but she's just got to figure out how she doesn't ruin her life in the process.
Yeah.
I'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the good folks over at Baker Publishing Group. Looking for the perfect read for Valentine's Day? These historical romance novels will woo their way into your hearts. First up, we have The Maid of Bali Makul by Jennifer Dybel. The only home Brianna Kelly has ever known is Bali Makul boarding school. But when the son of local gentry arrives at the school to deal with his unruly niece, an unexpected discovery uncovers the truth about her past and the key to her future. The Rose and the Thistle by Laura France. Amid the Jacobite uprising of 1715, an English heiress flees to the Scottish lowlands to stay with allies of her powerful family. But while castle walls may protect her from the enemy outside, a whirlwind of intrigue, shifting allegiances, and temptations of the heart lie within. Hearts of Steel by Elizabeth Camden. When successful businesswoman Maggie Molinaro offends a corrupt banker, she unwittingly sets off a series of calamities that threaten to destroy her life's work. She teams up with charismatic steel magnate Liam Blackstone, but what begins as a practical alliance soon evolves into a romance between two wounded people determined to beat the odds. Then last up is The Last Chance Cowboy by Jody Headland. When midwife Catherine Remington is accused of a murder she didn't commit, she flees to Colorado to honor a patient's dying wish to deliver a newborn to his father. But what she doesn't bargain for is how easily she'll fall for the charming sheriff, or how quickly her past will catch up with her and put their love and lives in danger. Listeners of Hallmarkies podcast can get these and many other great books by going to bakerbookhouse.com/featured/Hallmarkies, and from February 12th to 28th, save 40% using code Valentines40. That's bakerbookhouse.com/featured/Hallmarkies, promo code Valentines40.
Yeah. And so we also have that we have Maggie that she's just about to tell Walt about Simon, I think. Yeah, Simon.
Yeah.
And then Donna and Sebastian break up. She plays it pretty cool, but then she tells Walt about Simon and Maggie. So that thing all blows up during the lock-in.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. I feel bad for Maggie. I feel bad for Walt. Like, it's just the whole thing. Maggie was really looking for every excuse not to tell him, though, which I get. It's a difficult thing to say, but she's got to know that Donna's going to tell him. And that's the thing. Like, we've all done things we're not proud of that are hard to tell the other person, but sometimes you have a little leeway because you're like, well, they won't find out, but you know that Donna's going to tell him. She's not very nice.
Mm-hmm. Well, but she actually is softened quite a bit in these two episodes. Donna.
In the second episode, Rachel, oh my gosh, I was like, Donna kind of has my heart a little bit now. But in this first episode of this duo of episodes, I was
yeah. So she is manipulating and blackmailing Maggie, and so obviously that's going to make her an unlikable character. But she does seem to have genuine chemistry with Walt.
Yeah, she actually does. And even when they were kissing, I was like, okay, like, I still think, I mean, and then we learn more in the second episode, but there is something about Donna that Walt is attracted to, even if it's just the fact that she's telling him the truth about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then in the next episode, he says like, she's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I appreciate that there's like some nuance, because you can have a mean girl, character in a movie. I think if you're having a show, like you have to have some nuance to characters.
Yeah, you're exactly right. Like a sort of one-dimensional mean girl is only going to work for like a 90-minute movie. But if we're going to get invested in these characters, we have to, there has to be some heart to all of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. And I liked the interaction between Sebastian and Donna too. I thought that was well done.
I did too. When oh my gosh, Austin Butler, I mean, he just oozes charisma.
Yeah.
Like, and when he's sort of looking at her like, yeah, we can tell people that you broke up with me. It's totally fine.
Well, and also the one thing though I have to say about Sebastian is that every time that his first appearance on screen in the show, they always lower the frame rate. And so it becomes kind of this little slow motion kind of like, and I feel like, okay, you need to stop doing that on the show, because it's of course the first time that you talk about the character, but we need him to be like a real character. Like I understand he's a dreamboat and I understand doing that, but he needs to be like a real person and not just a heartthrob.
And also I feel like he's just got this look down pat where he does this little like eye smolder and he lips and he's like this knowing look, and I'm like, oh man.
And I'm really shocked that he wasn't more of a teen heartthrob, that he wasn't sort of the breakout of the show, because he is so dreamy.
Me too. Like that's not even my type of guy, like at all. And I just think there's a vulnerability about it that is actually interesting, that you're like, sure, he's a handsome guy, but handsome guys on TV are a dime a dozen, but he's got a very sweet vulnerability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So when they get over the slow motion and they allow him to actually be a character and a person, he does a good job. There's really more to him than just the pretty face. But him and Mouse have some time together in this episode, which I thought was fun.
They're a fun duo.
Yeah, it's nice on shows when some of the supporting players who don't get to spend that much time together get an arc together.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, this is an interesting duo.
Yeah.
I enjoy that quite a lot, especially when you have a really strong ensemble.
Yeah, it's kind of like and just like that when you had the little time when Steve and Carrie were together. Like that's a duo that you don't see that often together in the show, and so it's fun to see their chemistry and them interacting. And so I always like that in shows. And they decide to go to Manhattan and try to find Carrie and help Carrie.
Yeah, which is a fun little adventure they're going on. And he's admitted like, hey, yes, I like her.
Yes. Yeah. He finally admits to the girls that he likes Carrie, and they get really excited. It was cute.
Really-
and then he's trying to make this grand gesture for Carrie. What do you think about grand gestures? If Alex was going to stand in your on your stoop with a boombox, what would you think?
Love a boombox. I think grand gestures are great if there's substance behind that. So I think if it's just a grand gesture that kind of goes nowhere, but I think in this instance, like he knows it's something Carrie wants and he's like, I've messed up, I can provide that. I think it's really sweet. Do you love a grand gesture, or do you like more small sweet things?
I haven't really had any experience with them myself, but in theory,
what if I show up?
And, I would love that. Feel free. If anybody's listening and wants to make a grand gesture to me, I'm open. I'm open to it. But I also, as we know, I'll have a meal with anybody. So if you just want to take me to dinner, that's fine too. Yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I agree that it has to have some substance behind it, and there is something about the on How I Met Your Mother, they called it the Dobler versus Dahmer
Yes.
thing. Whereas, like, if somebody that you like does something like that, it's romantic and charming. If you don't like them, then it's like creepy and weird, and that is true. That's a thing.
Yeah, that is true. And I guess you have to be able to try and read the room,
Yeah.
you know?
But Sebastian's car ends up getting towed, and they just all end up at this club. This club was just a mess.
Wow. Yeah, there was a lot happening at the club. Bill Hader does this really funny character on SNL. He's like, this club has everything. And that's what it reminded me of. This. It was like everything is happening at this club.
Yeah. Yes. And so yeah, he gets his car towed, and then that I think that's we don't get I don't think we get the grand gesture until the next episode. He's still
Yes.
working on it. So
Still trying.
yeah. And then the end of the episode is her saying, "You can't stop me from wanting it." And then we find out that Donna had a crush on Walt, and that he's now her new boyfriend, for the moment at least.
Yeah.
So yeah, what would you give this episode 1 to 10?
I mean, I thought this one was actually really fun and action packed, and I love when Carrie's having adventures in the city. So I'm actually going to give it an 8.5. I really like this one.
Yeah. I will also give it an 8.5. I thought it was a pretty good episode for like all the characters, not just Carrie. Yeah.
We'd like to take a second and thank our sponsor for this episode of the podcast. It's the Hallmarkies merch store.
Are you looking for that perfect gift for the postable, hardy, or Hallmarky in your life?
What about getting that t-shirt or hoodie that will help you stand out at your next holiday party?
Now is the time to check out the Hallmarkies merch store.
Full of festive designs by artists like Jessica Miller, Carrie from Hallmark Comics, and more.
You can even have more than just shirts, but totes, cell phone cases, notebooks, mugs, and more.
And it isn't just Hallmark. We have designs for Anna Green Gables, Man from Snowy River, The Nanny, and more.
Every purchase at the merch store goes to help support the podcast and allows us to make the great content you know and love.
There are frequent sales, so go to tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies or see the link in the description.
That's tpublic.com/stores/Hallmarkies.
Episode 9 is called The Great Unknown. And this one is when Dorrit goes missing under Carrie's watch, Carrie lashes out at Sebastian, the one person who can help her find her sister.
Yeah.
So overall, what do you think of this episode?
First of all, I want to give a big shout out to my friend Janine Bartel. She's the hot instructor that gets with Carrie.
No way.
I remember when ages ago, like her posting about it, not ages ago, but whenever this show was filmed, it was a long time ago. And I was like, oh my gosh, it's Janine. So she's really cute and fun in this episode. So I was really excited to see her. I really thought that this episode, I love when Carrie and Dora get to interact and we get to see their vulnerabilities and get a little bit more into the family dynamic. And something I also enjoyed about this episode that I was curious, Rachel, what you thought, is that we get to see how Carrie, the beginnings of her developing some really unhealthy behavior patterns and relationships where she's just trying to mess things up. She's trying to mess up a good thing. But her as a teenager, we have empathy for that. And I have less empathy for that when Carrie's an adult. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, you can see her sort of unhealthy tendencies starting, but you also see the beginnings of her writing, I think almost the most in this episode.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is really
fun
exciting
to see. And we find out they now have a couple name, Kidshaw.
Oh, all of that was so cute, Rachel. And like Sebastian's excited about it. He's giving her his jacket. It's so cute.
Yeah, it's fun to see Sebastian in love, I guess, for like a better word.
It really is. Because before
Yeah.
it was very much like driven by teenage hormones. I mean, it still is, but teenage hormones, and like he seemed too cool for school. And now it's just like they're really good buds.
Yeah, and you see him trying to figure out Carrie, like and being frustrated, like when she just starts crying and he's like, what is wrong? What's wrong? She's just like, I'm so happy.
I love that you pointed that out, because before, when he didn't get Carrie, he reacted by pushing her away, like, oh, you're too complicated, there's too much going on in your head. But now he's really trying to figure her out.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yep.
Yeah. So we also have introduction of a new character named Wes. And he is the challenging mouse for valedictorian status. And he is great with those Rubik's Cubes, super fast.
This little banter that's going on between these two is so gosh darn charming. Like, he's so cool, but he's so smart, nice guy. I mean, and I love the way he gets under Mouse's skin. This is the type of guy that I want to see her have a romance with, if she has a romance. If not, this kind of rivalry is just fun.
Yeah. I enjoyed it. What's that? I forgot to write down the actor's name because he is very charming. Let's see if I can find it. R.J. Brown is his name. He was good. I liked him.
He's a cutie. He's
Yeah.
a cutie.
Mm-hmm. Let's see if he's doing anything. We always love looking and seeing these working actors, what they're doing. Let's see here.
Usually they're working, which is awesome.
Yeah, he's on 13. He was on 13 Reasons Why.
Oh yeah, it was good.
Yeah.
Oh yes.
So he looks like he's keeping busy as a working actor. So yeah, he was very good, very charming. And it's always nice when you get a little diversity, especially in a show like this.
For sure. Yeah. And it's a great character that he's not just a good looking dumb jock that we see a lot of times in these types of teenage shows. It's like, no, he's a good looking jock who's the smartest kid in the class. And Mouse is just going nuts.
Yeah, and I really thought it was funny when he's like, so Wes, he's like, I'm a single mother household, Black, and an athlete. What do you? And Mouse is like, he says, I'm a college admissions unicorn, and then he says, what are you, a non-athlete Asian math genius with two parents? That was good.
That was so funny. And then Mouse is like holding the golf clubs at the end, like, I gotta learn a sport. Oh, too good.
Yeah. I mean, the truth is I don't think hardly any of that actually matters. I mean, even you're trying to get into Harvard, I think that the test scores is way more impactful than all this stuff. And especially once you actually get in, all of that stuff like means nothing.
Right. Yes.
Yeah. And maybe not as much in 84, but Harvard wants wants a diverse student body. So I think that they probably would be equally excited for a for a non-athlete Asian math genius with two parents.
Well, it was an interesting thing that yes, only one person can be valedictorian.
Yeah.
Unless you're like completely tied to your GPA, but like, it's not like both of them can't get into Princeton or Harvard. Like, both of them could get in, and actually probably would get in. They're both very, very smart.
Yeah, I think so. But yeah, obviously they're kind of building this up. I think there's going to be a relationship of some kind, and so that's fun.
When Mouse is like stretching and she's in her workout gear before doing the Rubik's Cube, and then she's dancing and showing off, and he's like, honestly, that was a half hour ago. Like, only you care. It was really funny.
Yeah. I have one time successfully solved a Rubik's Cube. I was so excited, so proud.
How long did it take you?
I got very lucky. this one time, and I was able to do it. I don't know if it took me an hour, 30 minutes, something like that. But I did
That's
solve it one
amazing.
time. Yeah. But most of the time I just don't have the patience for it.
Well, because it's always just like one little thing. I used to babysit a kid who did it a lot or worked on it a lot, but
Yeah,
it
it's
was
like popular with kids these
so fun.
days.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, when I visited my friend Adrian in New York, her son is like huge into it.
Really. And
Yeah.
he's good at it.
Yeah, oh yeah, yeah, really good at it. They like she homeschools her kids. They're so smart. So smart.
Does she want to homeschool me?
Yeah, for real. Amazing. And so we also get more with Walt and Donna, and they're pretty, into each other. They're excited when it starts, but he can't go all the way with Donna, and she starts to ask questions. And she says, "Are you even interested in girls?" Because evidently her brother is gay.
Yeah, this is when I started to be like, oh, Donna's got some depth and she's actually not just a heinous human being.
Mhm.
She's had that little cocky attitude, but she's like, no, it's okay. Like, if you weren't interested in me, everyone's interested in me. So like, I figured it must be something like that. But when she says, I'm not going to tell anyone, my older brother's gay and I'm the only one who knows. And my heart was just like, oh, okay. She's not completely evil. And I believe that she will keep this secret. In fact, she lets another secret out.
Yeah, I was gonna say
It
she
was
even does kind of
actually-
the reverse. Like she actually starts spreading a I guess positive rumor about Walt.
Yeah, I thought that I don't know what I mean. Honestly, I'm just very emotional right now because when I get PMS, I'm like very emotional. But I was like, that's actually the sweetest rumor. I was like, Donna,
Yes.
everyone, and then that's why you broke up with him is that he was a big boy, and it's just
Yeah.
like, oh, you're actually a sweet person, and I believe she won't even tell her friends. Like she is going to be guarded with this.
Yeah. Yeah. And so then we also have Dorrit leaving. She goes to her room and then she leaves out the window. And she goes to the Chelsea Hotel where Sid and Nancy died or murdered, whatever.
Yeah.
And so then they go to try. Carrie goes with Sebastian to try to find Dorrit at the Chelsea Hotel.
Yeah, I live a couple blocks from the Chelsea Hotel. I pass it all the time and I did not know the history. And then after I saw this episode, I was reading more about it. So I want to check more about it. I want to check out more stuff about it. But it was interesting that Sebastian was so invested in helping Carrie, and Carrie was like, no, I need to do this on my own. Everything gets messed up when you come around. But then, ultimately he ends up finding Dorrit first.
Yeah, and then Dorrit says Sebastian's it's way cooler than expected for a pretty boy, which was nice.
Yeah. Yeah. And the sweet conversation that Dorrit and Carrie have where it's like Dorrit, they're actually dealing with their mom's death in two very different ways. Carrie's like, I can't mess up. I have to do everything right. I'm scared of things. And Dorrit's like, live.
Yeah. And then we also have the dad flirting with this aerobics instructor who I didn't know was your friend. So that's exciting.
Go Janine.
Yeah. And he's starting to kind of get back into the swing of things after grieving for so long, which is fun.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's also funny because actors, that's what we do. But like Janine's played a variety of roles, but like I've never seen her in something so seductive like this. Like we taught at the same acting studio, and like I've never seen her be all like vampy like this.
Yeah, she was good. She
really
did a good job. Yeah. And so then the dad, I forget who it is who says this to the dad, but he says, your job is to let her be whoever she wants to be for Carrie.
Larissa, I think,
Was
says
it
it.
Larissa? Okay. Yeah. And
I'm
then
not sure, but I think-
Larissa says she's a hell of a writer. And yeah, this is your moment. What kind of father do you want to be?
I do think there was some pretty profound stuff in here about even just what parenting is philosophically. Like, yes, keeping our kids safe and everything like that, but also, yeah, like letting them be who they want to be and make mistakes also. Like, I think that
Yeah.
there's a lot in there.
Yeah, I mean, there's always sort of the debate of nature versus nurture. Like, how much does our environment create us versus who we just innately are? And it's something I wonder about, because like my brother and I are like night and day. We're so different, and we had basically the same upbringing, but
Yes. In
we
nature and nurture.
yeah, and so I do think that if I were to be a parent, I do think there's something to the fact of that you just kind of have to let them be who they are supposed to be and enjoy the ride.
Yeah.
Like, obviously you need to parent them and help them to learn, but I think the idea that you're sort of crafting them out of clay, I don't think that's true.
Right. Exactly.
Mhm. So the dad is learning. I don't even know the dad's name. I just call him Dad, but
I just call him Dad too.
he's learning. and so, and then we have Dorrit saying, you can't stop living, you have to keep going. And we have Walt saying, I don't know what I am. Just so he's sort of questioning, trying to figure it out, which is
Yeah.
good.
And it's nice that now hopefully he'll have the space to do that without feeling like he has to be with anyone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then we have this conversation between Carrie and Sebastian where they both say they're terrified, and just says there's no guarantees, but I don't care.
They're so cute.
Yeah. Yeah. And they do have really good chemistry.
I want to see these two together in something now. They have
Yeah, I would love that. Yeah, I would love that. I would love to see them do like a little rom-com or whatever.
Yeah.
Like he did Elvis. Now we need to kind of give him a break and have him do a
Yes. Come on, Hollywood. Give
Yeah.
the people what they want.
And so then the dad decides, he changes his mind about interview, and he tells Carrie. So that's going to be fun to see. And then we have Donna starting the positive rumor about Walt. So I thought this was a good episode. This was
It was
well
great.
done. Yeah. What would you give it 1 to 10?
Oh, I loved it. I would give this like an 8.5 or a 9. I just thought this was a delightful, fun episode with a lot of humor and a lot of heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Because I mean, for pretty much every character, like Maggie gets something to do because she's stressed out about watching Walt and Donna. We get Donna, we get Mouse and Wes. They have their Rubik's cube off. Yeah. Which is fun. And so I agree. I think that this was one of the strongest episodes so far of the 9 that we've done. So
for sure.
Yeah. So let us know if you're watching the show, if you've seen the show, what you think of these 2 episodes. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. And Jax, where can people find you?
Jacqueline C tweets on Twitter and Jacqueline Collier on Instagram.
Great. And you can find me at Rachel's Reviews, all of our social media, iTunes, YouTube, and on Rotten Tomatoes. And you can find us at City Girls Pod on Twitter, where we try to post every now and then about all things Sex and the City. And you follow us at Hallmarkies Pod and Hallmarkies Podcast, all of our social media. And if you are listening on iTunes, please leave your ratings and reviews. That really helps us a lot. And if you're watching on YouTube, please give the video a thumbs up and subscribe to the channel. We appreciate that so much. We also have the patron group, which is a lot of fun. We're having our patron watch along this week with Greta and Madison from Meeting Mr. Christmas. So it's going to be super fun. So check that out. And we also have the merch store where you can get City Girls Pod merch and lots of other fun stuff. And so hope everybody has a really great Valentine's, and we'll talk to y'all later. Bye, everyone. Bye.